like the vibe, I don't like the approach, whatever it may be, it feels, maybe I'll put it this way, it feels foreign to me. It's not normal. It feels outside of the realm of normalcy for me. It does not mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean you shouldn't like it or villainize it. Maybe you just aren't aware of the benefits of it yet.
I think that it's a cognitive bias, actually. It's called the liking and disliking bias. It's a cognitive bias. It's almost like if you don't like someone, you're not going to learn from them as much. And if you do like someone, you're going to presuppose they're more accurate than they really are.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode number 1301. Looking like you're losing isn't always a bad thing. Today, for episode number 1302 or 1302, you'll never learn from what you don't like. So let me just preface this with, this is going to be a quick episode. We're going to hammer for 10 minutes because we're in between calls and we just got to get it done, but we're going to try to add as much value as we can. I was on a call with two clients, and these two clients have separate podcasts, but they're also on each other's podcasts. So it's this weird kind of dynamic. And they're debating on whether or not they should go their separate ways and do their own thing. And this was a very, very difficult coaching call for me because, one, these two humans remind me of Alan and myself. At the beginning of the journey, not as much now. One of them is super M. So we've talked about PMES before: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. This person is very M. So they're very logical. They don't really understand emotional intelligence. They don't understand vulnerability. And they kind of think that's all a weakness, honestly, when it comes down to it. The other person is very emotionally driven. So they are somebody who, they're focused more on relationships than results. They're focused on vulnerability. They feel things, right? They go through life feeling things, much like myself. So it was a very challenging conversation because it's very clear to me that the person who is very logical just does not understand the emotionally driven human at all, and therefore cannot learn from him. And in a way, almost can't listen to what he says because it doesn't make sense logically to him. And I had to be in the middle of this saying like, okay, we'll just say player one, I understand what you're talking about when it comes to getting high level guests on, but player two, that's not what player two wants. Player two wants to make sure that you have a vulnerable show where the listeners can reach out and feel like they're part of something. And player one just does not understand that. That's not what player one wants. And it reminded me a lot of Alan and I in the beginning. We had to figure out, there were times where it's like, I don't know if I can learn from Alan. Like, he's so hardcore with that. And there were times where Alan didn't know if he could learn from me because I was more about feelings and emotions. And now I understand success in the external world way better, and Alan understands emotional intelligence in the internal world way better. But that never would have happened if we didn't allow ourselves to say, you know what, I might not like the way it feels at times. I might not understand why Alan is teaching me in the way he's teaching me, but I can learn a lot from him, and I have to understand that that's what I'm here for. So yeah, that's kind of the thought process behind this quick Monday episode.
So essentially, they're just not driving to 5 as well or as consistently as you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
They don't know the benefits. They don't know the benefits yet.
I am so grateful that we stuck with it because I've become such a more holistic person. I remember I didn't even understand what vulnerability was before you and Taryn brought it up after watching the Brene Brown Netflix special. And then I asked you, like, what is vulnerability? And then we went into it, and it was like, oh, okay. And then, so anyways, it's really important, I think, to be holistic. Of course, we feel that way. A lot of people are on one end or the other. This player one was an electrical and computer engineer, master's in engineering. And I want everyone to understand something too. Just because you don't like someone or something does not mean you can't learn from them. As a matter of fact, it's actually the opposite. It's almost like you have to learn from them. I always say this. I say, if the gold is buried where you least want to dig. We talked about this on a previous episode. If you're goal-oriented and extremely results-driven and extremely rational and physical and mental, most likely you need a therapist. But you don't want a therapist. You want a coach, most likely. If you want a therapist, you probably need a coach. Because a lot of people are either results driven or experience driven. They're either logical and rational, or they're experiential and emotional. And we're all both, but we all lean one way or the other. The paradigms, one is goal oriented and one is relationship oriented. Are your relationships a byproduct of your goals, or are your goals a byproduct of your relationships?
So group coaching was definitely an experience for me. Getting to know the people was really, really cool. Everybody's kind of moving towards the same goal. And I definitely started to see the value in what Kevin and Alan were presenting to us. PPT for me was something that was really huge. I was looking for a system to help me kind of keep track of the things that I had to do every day to make sure that I was productive. I feel like I got so much value out of it, and I am so grateful that I took the leap and I decided to join.
And so again, you'll never learn from what you don't like. I wanted to use Brian Tracy as an example. So you've heard me talk about Brian Tracy before. We did a Relationship Talks virtual event, Emilia and I, last month, and we talked about money and setting financial goals with your intimate partner and how important that is to stay on the same page and to make sure you're working as a team, essentially. I did this thing that I do where I said, how many financial books have you read? And it's a proverbial metaphorical question. Like, everyone can answer that. How many financial books have you read? I always talk about how you're not going to learn finances if you're afraid of them. If you're afraid of spiders, you're not going to go anywhere near them. You're certainly not going to learn from them. So if you don't like spiders, you're not going to learn about spiders. Same thing with money. Same point of this episode. One of the books that I recommended was the 21 Undeniable Laws of Money. No, I'm sorry. It was the Science of Money by Brian Tracy. It's an audiobook. The Science of Money. I think there's a different one, the 21 Laws or something like that. But The Science of Money, and I told everyone at the event, I said, the book that I recommended, this is in WhatsApp and audio or something, or message. The book that I recommended with Brian Tracy, just be careful. It's really boring. But that doesn't mean it's not great. The content, the value of Brian Tracy's work is very, very high. I have some speeches saved. I love his books. The value is really high, but he's just wicked boring. So, but if you want entertainment, you're not going to learn from Brian Tracy. You might not like Brian's work, but I'm telling you, you would benefit from it. And that's the example that I wanted to use. Sometimes, and Kevin and I have talked behind the scenes, it's very difficult for us to learn from people that we don't like. I think that it's a cognitive bias, actually. It's called the liking and disliking bias. It's a cognitive bias. It's almost like if you don't like someone, you're not going to learn from them as much. And if you do like someone, you're going to presuppose they're more accurate than they really are. And I'll use us as an example. If you're out there listening or watching to this, you either resonate more with Kevin or me. That's okay. You do. If you had to pick one, who would you pick? If you resonate more with me, you probably need to learn more from Kev. If you resonate more with Kev, you probably would benefit from learning more from me. That's what we've found after 1,300 episodes, and for me, 4,000 coaching sessions. It's we don't want to dig in the places that are the most uncomfortable, but that's where all the gold is buried. If what you wanted was what you needed, you would already have it. One more time. If what you wanted was what you needed, you would already have it. I wanted coaches and mentors. What I needed was a therapist. Kevin had done therapy before. He needed coaches and mentors. That's not what he wanted. We got coached by Evan Carmichael, and Kevin fell on the floor after one of the calls. It was like, oh my God, that was so brutal. It was brutal. Picked apart our YouTube channel. But that also benefited us so much, right? So we didn't have to like the coaching. We had to deal with the coaching because it's what we needed. So hopefully that lands for people.
Evan DM'd me last night. We are good buddies with Evan now. Shout out to Evan. Yep. Not listening most likely yet. Maybe one day. Evan Carmichael will be listening. I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. I just think for a lot of us, we don't understand. I don't want to say we don't understand. We might not be aware of what we're villainizing. And you just don't understand. Like, when you're villainizing something, if this is a whole nother thing. If you're villainizing money, you're never going to learn about money. If you're villainizing, how many people do you see on Facebook? I know you don't consume a lot of social media, but a lot of people on Facebook villainizing relationships. It's like, oh, I always attract negative people. And it's like, I understand you're venting, but if you're villainizing relationships, the odds of you learning about them are pretty low. right? If you villainize anything, you're not going to learn about it. Again, the thought behind this episode was understanding other people and how they can pour into you. Just to button this up, because Alan has a coaching call in 2 minutes, that partnership would just be so much better off if they understood, oh, this person, although I don't like the way, I don't like the vibe, I don't like the approach, whatever it may be, it feels, maybe I'll put it this way, it feels foreign to me. It's not normal. It feels outside of the realm of normalcy for me. It does not mean it's a bad thing. It doesn't mean you shouldn't like it or villainize it. Maybe you just aren't aware of the benefits of it yet. I am a way more logical thinker than I've ever been, and I think that's wonderful. And I think I have a really good balance now of emotional and logical. But that never would have happened if I said, Alan, you don't understand people and I don't want to be like you. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. Just like if Alan said, Kev, you're soft. I don't want to be like you. Like you cry sometimes on the podcast. Like that's not for me. That's not what I want. It's weak. Alan cried on stage at Next Level Live. I didn't cry. I'm strong. I don't cry. No, I'm just kidding.
I think I might cry more than you these days.
You probably do cry more than me. I cry into my pillow at night when nobody's watching. No, I don't. I had that moment recently where it's like, I need to cry. I haven't cried in a hot minute. So I have my songs I can put on, but I haven't done it. All right, we got to go. Next Level Nation. Join our private Facebook group. It's called Next Level Nation. If you're looking for people that will help you get to the next level of your life, you can be vulnerable, you can be yourself. And I am now tracking how many subscribers, quote unquote, followers we have on our podcast platforms. So if you want to help out your boys, please follow us on the platform that you listen to us on.
Also, if you're listening to this on the day that it launched, that means it is Monday. Tonight at midnight, Group 10 is closing. Reach out to Kevin or myself, see if there's any spots available. DM me, Facebook, Instagram, Alan at nextleveluniverse.com, Kevin at nextleveluniverse.com. We very much love to hear from listeners. We can give you a promo code, 30% off for only listeners of this show. DM us, let us know that you are interested, and we'll try to squeeze you into Group 10. If for whatever reason we can't, there will be another group starting in Q3.
Next Level Nation. Maybe the quickest episode we've ever done. Tomorrow for episode number 1303, the best question to ask yourself to learn about your purpose. I actually talked about this on a podcast earlier. As always, we love you, appreciate you, grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans, we have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep heading toward that horizon, Next Level Nation.